Welcome home, brave heroes. I'm Ash, this is HeroQuest, and today we're going to be unboxing, or unpackaging actually, and presenting MEGAQuest. MEGAQuest is a bevy of brand new hero classes for your favorite dungeon crawler. It is perfectly compatible with HeroQuest and includes all of the spells and abilities, as well as a custom level up system that is designed to give your games a bit more flavor. Now, these are from Drive-Thru RPG, and I have a couple of disclaimers to go through. One, the creator sent me this deck of cards free of charge. However, that will not influence any of the opinions or commentary that I may have about these cards. And two, while looking at just the back, I did notice that the text was painfully small in many of the areas on the card. I have since given this feedback to the creator, and he has addressed this with his newest design. So you won't be getting exactly what we're going over in the video. Indeed, I received these several weeks ago and wanted to wait before doing the video so it was closer to launch. I'll put a link in the description below so that you can get these cards for yourself. There is a free rulebook PDF, and the deck of 45 tarot-sized cards runs a little bit less than $31 USD before shipping. Without further ado, let's jump in to MEGAQuest. The first thing I'm going to notice is that we have a lot of spells, and I'll go ahead and separate these from the deck so that we'll take a look at them just a little bit later. Next, we've got skills, and then finally, the hero cards. It looks like these are double-sided, and they have really awesome utility. On one side is the hero with all of the stats, and on the other, flipping vertically to get to the other side, we've got the skills, spells, inventory, gold, and experience points that you can keep track of. There was a recommendation from the creator to sleeve these, and then we could probably dry erase on the sleeves to get the most use out of these fields. So right away, we have the portrait showing our new hero class. Then we have the path of this. This is the hero class itself, Trophy Hunter, and the race. In this case, this is an orc. We have BP and mana, or mind points, I would say, as well as stats: 4 attack, 2 defend, 5 body points, and 3 mind. We've also got the disciplines on the right. That's mental, acrobatics, brawn, ritual, faith, and luck. And again, the text looks painfully small, but the final version definitely has this fixed. We've got flavor text in the bottom left-hand corner describing kind of the tone of the hero. In this case, you show the world your true skill in the hunt. And a special trait that is unique to each hero. When a monster is killed, roll a die. When you roll a shield, collect a trophy token. If it's a boss, collect a token automatically. Once per quest, you may spend 10 trophy tokens to either discard a piece of equipment and search the artifact deck for an item, or use 1 on a target creature to subtract 2 mind and 1 defend until the end of the current combat encounter. You may also sell each trophy you collect for 100 gold. That seems like a really fast way to get money. If you kill a monster, even if it's a goblin, roll a die and you have a 33% chance to get a trophy token. And then you can sell this trophy for 100 gold. Next up is the Shaman, Path of the Shaman. This is also an orc. The spirits talk to you and teach you a path to power. She has 2 attack, 3 defend, 3 body points, and 6 mind. Now, we don't actually get numbers in these disciplines, do we? Because they're all 3s. It looks like every hero has 3 in every single field for these. So this might be something that is used with the roleplay system rules that come with this, or that can be downloaded for free. So we'll check into that in just a little bit. This lady's trait is 2 times per quest you may place a totem when casting a spell. If you do, the totem has the spell you cast. The spell must target a single creature. The base mana for the totem is 2, and for every 1 mana you spend extra modifying the spell. Once all mana is spent, the totem disappears. Treat each totem like a summoned creature. The totem stats are as follows: a movement of 0, attack of 0, defend of 2, and the mind points are the shaman's mind points, which in this case would be 6, but we do know that mind points can be altered from time to time in the game during play. Next, we have the Blade Ward, or Blade Ward. Another orc. This time, you trust your blade with your life and spend many hours a day cleaning the blade. You are the blade that you hold. Perhaps Perhaps this orc that is attached to the blade is just a costume, a puppet, and the actual blade is alive. Once per quest, you may pick a new weapon equipment card to be your sacred weapon if you don't already have one. If you finish a quest with this blade, you may upgrade the weapon with +1 attack. If you finish 3 quests with this weapon, search the artifact deck for a weapon and replace your equipped weapon with the artifact and shuffle your old weapon back in the equipment deck. If the weapon is already an artifact, permanently increase your attack or defense by 1 instead while this weapon is equipped. So you have plenty of room to wiggle around and kind of customize your character. I see this as being the ideal state where even if 2 players choose or 3 players choose the exact same hero, by the end of 3 or 4 quests, they could have a completely different loadout. That to me is good design. Next up, we are getting into the humans, and this is the Weapon Master. You strive to learn all about weapons. You view weapons as an extension to who you are, and they represent the many different aspects of you. You train day and night to bring all your skills into each battle. The stats here are 4 attack, 2 defend, 6 body points, and 2 mind points. And the trait is, if you kill a monster with a weapon, you may gain 1 skill token. Now, I can't imagine you'll be without a weapon very often, but if it's with just your fists, you won't gain that skill token. Unless the creator means if you kill a monster that has a weapon, but I think that it's if you have a weapon. You may spend 5 skill tokens to add a modification to a skill, not increasing the cooldown, and auto-succeeding the modification, or spend 10 skill tokens to heal 1 body point. This is a bit confusing, but we're going to look at these skills and spells, and then I believe it'll make total sense because we haven't looked at any of those just yet. I wanted to take a look at the rest of our hero cards before we delved into those. So next up, we have Path of the Merchant. While the merchant is part of the party, reveal an extra 3 items in the shop between quests. When the merchant searches for treasure and finds gold, you will also gain a merchant token. You may spend 3 merchant tokens to either double the sell price of an item or half the buy price of an item. Next we have Commander, who is a human, and now we'll start going through the deck a little bit quickly to get to the other sections. I love it. We have a Thief, who is a halfling. You have learned how to game the system and have your treasure placed in its rightful place, your bag. 3 times per quest, you may search a body, room, or furniture twice instead of once. If you find gold at any time while searching for treasure, gain a Thief token. You may spend 10 Thief tokens to buy an item between quests without spending any gold. Buying an item. I love that. Here we have more halfling love, more halfling representation. This time, a Researcher. Start the game with 2 spells. You may only use spells. When searching a body, room, or furniture and you find gold, you may switch a currently known spell with a new spell, shuffling the unlearned spell back in the spell deck. If you cast a spell 10 times, you may learn the spell. Once the spell is learned, you cannot swap the spell and may modify the spell once for free each time it's cast. Again, with the customization during play. And now a halfling engineer. Exactly what we need in this game. You may roll a die on any unsearched furniture or disarmed trap. If you roll a shield, do the following. Trap, take the trap. Treat the trap like a spell. Once a trap is used, discard it. And furniture, you will break the furniture, making a salvage token. Once per quest, you may spend 3 salvage tokens to summon a mechanical golem. You may salvage this golem to gain 1 salvage token back. If this golem is destroyed, you cannot salvage it. Love that. And now, we are at the elves. We have a rogue elf, we have a mage elf, and we have a druid elf. This would make an awesome alternative druid. Since we do already have a druid, what are the stats here? What are the traits? You may summon a giant wolf if not already summoned within 3 spaces. You may mount this wolf using its movement speed instead of rolling for movement, and if the giant wolf is killed, lower the druid's BP to 1 until you are able to summon the giant wolf again. Oh man. Finally, we've got dwarves. Path of Stonewall, Path of Blacksmith, and Path of Berserker. I'm interested in Blacksmith, so I'm going to read that. Once per quest, you may discard 2 or more equipment cards to search the equipment deck to find an item less than or equal to the total gold of the 2 discarded items. If the gold value is equal to or more than 1,000 gold, you may draw 1 artifact card instead. Very interesting mechanics. I don't think they break anything. I think they're pretty well thought out. They're really nice in that they make you trade things. You are exchanging things. You are working up to get currencies in order to be able to turn them in. Really nice feature there. All right, let's take a look at the skill cards that come with this system. One note that I wanted to make, I really do like the art on the back of these decks. I don't actually know, and I only bring this up because it does matter to some people and to others it does not, if any of the art here is AI generated. I do bring that up because AI generated fantasy characters seem to have a bit of a telltale sign in their shading, and I'm just not totally sure if that is evident here, or present rather. So perhaps some clarification can be given on that. But without further ado, the skill cards. And first impression of the skill cards, each one of course has its name in the top center of the card. It looks like an explanation of how to use the skill on the left side, and then modifications, and then what I would describe as the cooldown. Each card looks like it has a cooldown of 3 turns, and the modifications correspond to the different attributes, or disciplines rather, that are on the character cards. So it looks like these numbers will come into play when you are using the skills and spells. So for Whirlwind, we have base skill, and this is what it is for all of them. It's all base skill. Spinning Blades of Death, nothing will stop me. Lovely flavor text first. Roll an attack for all enemies within 1 space of the player. Subtract 1 attack after rolling for each target until you are out of targets or your attack equals 0. The player decides who the first target is. So, for an example, we would have our Barbarian in the center spot, and if they move into a place that has 4 enemies all around them, or I would say 3 orthogonally, we'll say 3 enemies, that Barbarian can choose one and roll attack. Now, if the Barbarian has a base attack of 3, then that first monster is getting attacked with all 3 attack dice and defends as normal. Then the second enemy will roll defense against an attack, and the attack will only be 2 dice, and against the third enemy, the attack will be just 1 attack die. And that makes perfect sense to me. It's diminishing as you go along until the last enemy. However, these modifications may change that dramatically, so let's read into those. Mental. If a target has a lower MP than the player, do not subtract 1 attack for that target. Really cool. So it's possible that if you're smarter, if your hero is smarter than the monster in terms of MP, then you won't have to decrease the attack. Brawn. If a target has 1 BP, that target doesn't roll a defense roll. That's pretty interesting. A lot of the enemies in the game do only have 1 BP. So if you're playing as the Barbarian, for example, and you roll up to a bunch of orcs or undead, then it's very likely you're going to take all of them out. Acrobatics, the player may move 1 space after rolling each target. So that's interesting. I wonder if your new targets are within your new movement space, if they're adjacent to the new tile that you're on and you can continue this attack, or if you have to basically roll for attack on the first, move 1, roll for attack on the second even though they're no longer adjacent to you, move again, then roll for attack on the third in my earlier example, even though again you're no longer adjacent. That brings up some questions for sure. Luck. If a target dies from Whirlwind, +1 attack until the start of the player's next turn. Okay, so if you kill the first one, then you actually increase an attack die as you go along. And if you would normally decrease, well, then you'd maintain your same number, but I wonder if this modification just erases that effect. Now, instead of going down at all or even maintaining, you'll simply roll an additional die. So for the Barbarian who moves into this spot and is surrounded by 3 monsters orthogonally, he'll roll 3 attack on the first, and if his modification is luck and he kills the first one, he'll roll 4 for the second. And then I have to wonder, does this stack? Will this go on to 5 attack dice if the second monster is killed, or does it stay 4 attack dice? Faith. If a target dies from Whirlwind, +1 defend until the start of the player's next turn. That's good. That's a good one. And Ritual. Increase the distance of Whirlwind from 1 space to 2 spaces. Now that would definitely cover diagonal targets for sure. So it would give you a lot more power if you moved into, say, a room where you had the opportunity to fight 7 monsters at once. You could move to the very center and use Ritual modified Whirlwind. So love that. We'll read another one before we move on. Taunt. Base skill. The player uses their amazing personality to keep the attention of the target. Target must attack the player once before attacking anything else. Modifications include mental. Taunt stays into effect until the player takes a total of 3 BP of damage. Luck. Target rolls a die when moving towards the player. If a shield, the target skips its attack this turn. Acrobatics. Taunt an extra enemy. Faith. Undead take BP if they deal damage to the player while under the effects of taunt. And brawn. Allies that attack the target gain an extra attack against the target while under the effects of taunt. Ritual. Taunt now affects the target and all enemies within 1 space of the target. Ritual seems to be building up that AoE. I really like that. I think that I would probably modify with Ritual as much as possible. We have Sprint. We have Bash. We have Maneuver. We have Leap. We have Hide. We have Empowered Kick. I love that. I love that. We have Charge. We have Rage. Rage is the final one, so we'll go ahead and read Rage. Actually, we will read Hide, because I feel like all the ones that I've read are very barbarian-oriented. Base skill. The shadows will protect me. You may use this skill if targeted by an enemy. Enemies with less than 3 mind cannot attack you. Roll a die at the end of each turn. If a skull, end this skill. If you attack a target, end this skill. Modifications include mental. Treat Hide like a spell instead of a skill. Modifications include mental. Treat Hide like a spell instead of a skill. Cost 1 mana instead of cooldown 3. Luck. At the end of your turn, but after your first turn, if Hide is active, you may gain +1 BP or +1 mana. Acrobatics. You may move an extra 3 spaces after you roll movement while Hide is active. Faith. Light spells cast while Hide is active may be modified once without paying extra mana and automatically succeed. Brawn. If you make an attack while the skill is active, the target of this attack doesn't roll defense. And Ritual. While Hide is active, you may act as if you have a toolkit while disarming traps. Really like Ritual. Really think Ritual would play into a character that I would use. Alright, really loving the skill cards. Let's move on to the spell cards and give some first impressions of this deck. Alright, looking at the spell cards this time, again, it is a vertical flip to get to the content and the correct orientation, and they're laid out almost the exact same as the skill cards, so once you learn how to use the skill cards or the spell cards, you'll be able to use the other deck without any problems at all. We have the name of the spell, which is Tidal Wave, the base spell description and instructions, the modifications and their effects, as well as what looks to be either a cost or the amount of mind points that you need to cast this to begin with, and the suit of elements to which this card belongs, in this case, water. So this is Tidal Wave, and the base spell description and instructions are: the caster pushes a massive wave of water away from themselves. Move all enemy units within 3 spaces of the caster 1 space away from the caster. All units affected by Tidal Wave roll a die. If it's a shield, that enemy takes 1 BP worth of damage, I would assume. Modifications include mental. Tidal Wave moves enemies within 5 spaces of the caster 1 space closer to the caster. Luck. Roll a die for each enemy affected by Tidal Wave. If it's a shield, cause another cast of Tidal Wave centered on the target. Wow. Acrobatics. Each target affected by this spell may trade places with other targets of this spell. The caster decides the new placement for each target, so the water is rushing through the dungeon, just whipping the monsters around. Faith. Allies within range of Tidal Wave gain +1 attack against any enemy target hit by this spell. Brawn. Increase the damage taken by this spell to BP -2 instead of BP -1. And Ritual. The caster gains a token for each target that takes damage from this spell. The caster may spend these tokens to reroll any future die roll. 1 token equals 1 die. The caster may not hold more tokens than their mind stat. So really cool. I like that. Another kind of trade, sort of working towards a currency deal. And this time we've got different elements. We've got target heal, so this looks like a holy symbol. We've got water elemental. We've got water lock. We've got summon undead. Now we're getting into unholy territory. Stone punch. We have skull bolt. We have shock wave. Resurrect. We have ice bolt and holy light. Group heal. Flame orb, getting into the fire spells this time. Fireball. and Fire Nova, as well as Fire Elemental, loving the elemental spells, Earth Elemental, Crumble, Bone Shield, love that, and Blood Siphon, really like that. I might have to make some sort of hero that has these death spells and using the ritual discipline. So that is a look at all 45 of the cards that comes with MEGAQuest, and again, there is a link in the description below where you can buy this tarot-sized deck for yourself. I think that the sizes of the cards make a lot of sense. They are really cool to have. It's going to give your hero a lot of customization opportunity. There's a lot of weight put into each of the decisions. I think another pass over the wordage and just the design convention of the text would make sense. But other than that, I think that this looks pretty polished. It does look pretty nicely designed. I would encourage any of the folks watching this video to weigh in with their own feedback and definitely decide if this is something that is right for your game. So thanks again to Deathtone for providing me with this deck, and thank you all for watching. I will see you in the next video. Until then, have a great rest of your day, and bye for now.